Hello everyone, I'm Siddharthan. In this video, let's understand how we can build a LLM-based chatbot with Google's Gemini Pro API. As you can see, this is the Streamlit app that we will build for our chatbot. And in this, you can just ask a question to Gemini Pro and it will give you the answers just like the ChatGPT and Bard LLMs that we are seeing. So in this video, let's understand how we can utilize Google's Gemini Pro API, get the keys, and deploy this on Streamlit Cloud so that you can share it as a public web app. Okay, so this is what we'll be discussing. So here you can see I've tested out some prompts where asking the model to write a Python code to build a convolutional neural network, and you can see that it has given like a proper code in order to do that in Python. So I've also asked it to explain what is deep learning, and it has like given me the answer for it. So this is the chatbot that we will be building with Gemini Pro and Streamlit. So let's get started. I'll give the required files to you in a GitHub repository. So I'll give this link in this video description. You can check this out. I'll just explain you the coding aspects of this. So in order to build this, right, so first we need the API key in order to access the Gemini Pro. And for that, just go to Google and search Google AI Studio. So for now, Google is offering this as like a free service, but there is a limit to this. So you can only kind of get 60 requests per minute, which is really good for development. So go to this Google AI Studio. You can go to this Google AI Studio Quick Start Gemini API, and in this particular link, in this left navigation bar, you will see this get an API key. So you can also see like the different versions of the model that's available and the other details about it. So here I'll go to this get an API key, as you can see. So within this, there will be an option to get an API key. So I'll give this. So here you can create a API key in new project. So you can like kind of create this where you will be seeing like a alphanumeric combination API key. So you just need to copy this and save it in your .env file. So make sure that you have copied the API key, and then what you can do is maybe you can use PyCharm, which is better for development. So this is the place where I'll be creating these scripts and creating the environment files and so on. So once you have copied the API key, right, so create a file as .env file. So here I just have this as a env file, but you need to create it as .env, which is basically your environment file. So you can load your keys and other configurations in this particular file. So here you can create a key called as Google API key and then place your API key here. So you don't have to put any quotes and all those things like you put in a JSON file. Just put the name of this key and what that particular key is. So in our code, we will load this environment file, pass it to the Google Generative AI module, and then we will kind of call this API and get the predictions out of this. So you can actually use this Streamlit app code for other open source LLMs, like we have Llama 2, Falcons, and other things, right? So you can also kind of host your model in some cloud platforms, and you can build a Streamlit app on this. So this is what we are going to do. And first I'm importing the required libraries, OS, Streamlit, .env, and Google.generative AI. So OS is just to kind of get our .env file and basically get that particular API key that we have built. And I also have this requirements.txt where I have mentioned like the libraries that we need. So we need this python.env in order to load the API key in the environment variable. So we'll be using this library, and we'll be using Google Generative AI, which is the library in order to load this API and kind of get a response from it. And then of course we need the Streamlit library. So I hope that you have kind of cloned this repository, or maybe you can also kind of type in your own code and try this out. So the first step is installing the libraries that we need. So maybe I can just give this as pip install our requirements.txt, so that will install all these files, right? So that's the first step. So you can kind of have the same code structure. So I have this .env file with my Google API key value, and then I have this main.py file, which is my Streamlit app, and requirements.txt. Also create a folder called as Streamlit, and within that we'll be having this config.2yaml, which is basically like the configuration for our Streamlit file. So you don't Streamlit app, and you don't have to change anything here. I mean, this is not required when we are going to deploy the app on our local, but when we are going to deploy this on Streamlit cloud, so this is like an important thing that we should have. So that's the other thing. So make sure that you have installed all these libraries. As you can see, I've already installed it, so it says like requirement already satisfied. So just run pip install r requirements.txt. In the next step, let's kind of understand the entire code of this app, which is this is like a pretty simple code. So first we are importing the required libraries. So we have os streamlit.env again to load the environment, uh, kind of basically load the key to the environment variable. So from .env we are importing load.env, and then we are importing google.generative AI as gen AI. And this is the place where we are loading the environment variables. So we are calling this load.env. So this will load the key present in your .env file to the environment variables. And the next step is setting the configuration for our Streamlit app. So we have this st.set page config. So here I have this parameter called as page title. So here we are calling this as chat with Gemini Pro. So this is basically like the name that you are seeing here. So I've stopped this app. So this is saying that connection error. But yeah, so you are seeing this, right? Chat with Gemini Pro. So this is the page title that we have mentioned here. And page icon is brain. So I put a colon at the start and the end. I'm calling this as brain. So this is a favicon emoji. If you want a different emoji, you can go ahead and search like different favicon emojis that you have, and you can maybe use the one that's appropriate for you. So I've gone with a brain icon. So that's what you're seeing here. So if you don't do this, you would just have this Streamlit logo there. So that's okay as well. And layout is centered. So here you can see my output, or basically my web app content is centered here, and there is like nothing on this left and right side. There is another option called as wide, WIDE. So when you use a wide layout, so I mean the message bar and the text space, it's like a wider in nature. So that's basically the difference, right? So this place is just to set the configuration for our page. Next is, we have already loaded our API key to the environment variable. Now we need to get this API key from this os.getEnv. So I'm calling this os.getEnv and calling this Google API key. This is basically the API key that we have. So this is the name, right? So I need to kind of put this variable name Google API key and kind of get this from the environment variables. So that's what we are doing here, and storing this to the variable called as Google API key. So this Google API key should be passed to this genai.configure, which is basically google.generative AI. So genai.configure, we are passing this API key to the parameter called as API key. And in this model, we are loading this genai.generative model Gemini Pro. So actually, there are other versions of the model. You can maybe search like what are all the different models that you have in this generative model thing, and you can use like a different version. So there should be a image based model as well. So you can try those out as well. So here I'm focused on Gemini Pro. This is the one that's currently being used on Google's Bard as well. So this is actually like working, as good as ChatGPT. I mean, it's kind of subjective, but yeah, this is like a really good model that we can use for now. So I'm loading this to this variable called as model, and then I'm creating this function called as translate role for Streamlit. So I mean the output that we are generating, right? So it's like kind of tagged as assistant in Streamlit, but this is like tagged as model in the GenAI library. So we just need to make sure that terminologies doesn't affect, or basically we have a uniform terminology in Gemini Pro and Streamlit. So we are just like, if the user role is called as model, we are going to say that it's assistant, because that's what Streamlit is going to understand. So this is like pretty basic stuff. The next step is, and this is like another interesting feature about Streamlit. So I mean, in Streamlit, right, there is something called as session state. So it's basically retains the operations or things that has been done on the web app. So let's say that I don't maintain the session state, right? So what would happen is, let's say I've typed in this message asking the model to write a Python code to build a CNN, right? So it would give an output. And if I kind of say ask another question of what is deep learning, so this entire thing will be kind of reset. So this history won't be maintained, and you will see this characteristic in any feature of Streamlit. So this is because the sessions are not kind of saved. So for that reason, we can use a session state where we can constantly load the state of the Streamlit app, so that in this case the purpose is just to maintain the history, but in other features, right, so you may create a button and at each click of button sometimes the web page would be resetting. So in order to avoid this, you can maintain all those variables and other things in the session state. So here you can see we are initialing a chat session Streamlit. So I mean, if this is running for the first time, right, so chat session won't be there. So we are seeing that if chat session not in st.session state, so this is where we'll be maintaining it, streamlit.session state. So we are having this st.session date session state dot chat session model is equal to start chat history is equal to this. So this basically means the purpose that we are using this is, right, when a new query has been posed, when a new prompt has been posed, we don't want to lose the previous conversation, the previous text and the output. So in order to kind of save this, we are using this history thing. So in the start chat here, this is the first prompt the user is giving, so there is actually no history. So that's why we kind of have this empty list kind of a thing. So later we will add contents to this, and this will be kind of displayed here. So this is like the final question that's being asked. So we don't want this previous output to be like kind of reset. So that's why we are maintaining this history. So that's for this purpose. So we are kind of creating a chat session in the Streamlit session state. The next step is having a title for our Streamlit app, which is st.title Gemini Pro Chatbot. So this is what you're seeing here. Okay, this is like pretty simple stuff. And then we are displaying the chat history. So for message in st.session state chat session.history with st.chat session translate role and all these things. So translate role is just to kind of say that this is the user edited thing and this is like the assistant's output and so on, right? So we are kind of displaying all the history that's present. So let's say that this is my first prompt and answer, and this is my second prompt and answer. So if I kind of ask another question, right, the previous two history should be maintained. So that's what we are doing in this for loop, where we display all the messages in the history within this for loop. So we are calling this message.role. So maybe first time it would be the user's message, which is basically like asking the prompt that will be present, and then the the assistant, which is Gemini Pro's response, will also be displayed in the history. So basically what we are seeing over here. Okay, so that is the next step, displaying the history. So the final step is the actual thing where we are having this input field for user's message. When this runs for the first time, we don't have anything here. So chat session.history, it's empty, right? So this for loop basically doesn't run. So that's why you just have like a empty screen, which is what we need. So once the user has started asking questions, we are just maintaining all those history using this for loop. So that's like the overview of this. And then we have this final thing where the user can type in some prompt and get the answer for it. So here we are creating a variable called as user prompt, which is equal to st.chat input, and we are kind of having a placeholder saying ask Gemini Pro. So that's what we have over here. So ask Gemini Pro, and we have this send button here. So that's what we are creating with this chat input. And if user input, so this means if once basically at start, this user input is a none data type. So this if condition won't be kind of running at all. So once the user has kind of filled in something and hit the send button, this if condition will run. So if user prompt, that means if there is some prompt that has been given by the user, we call this dot chat message user markdown user prompt. So markdown is just kind of displaying the text in a markdown format. So if you see this st.chat message user is the one that I have typed in, right? So this is what we are kind of doing here. So when I say this st.chat message user markdown, so this displays this particular thing, the prompt that is entered by the user. So we are displaying that. Once we display that, we kind of call the Gemini API through this Gemini response is equal to st.session state chat session send message user prompt, right? So this send message thing, let's come back to this. Again, all these we are kind of saving this to basically the session state, so that we maintain this history and all those things. So we have this Gemini response st.session state chat session send message user prompt. So this goes to this Gemini's call, and then we get like an output for this. So once we get this output, we display this with st.chat message assistant st.markdown Gemini response.text. So this is how we are basically getting the output from the the API. Okay, so we have this model. model.start chat, right? So this is where we are kind of putting it and getting the output from it. So chat session, send message. So let me just quickly see this one. Okay, so we have this st.chat message, and within that we are passing this user prompt and getting the output and storing this in the variable called as Gemini response and displaying it with st.chat message assistant, which is refers to the model that we have hosted, and st.markdown Gemini response.text. Okay, so this is how this code basically works, and maybe I've stopped this. I'll maybe run this again. So I'll close this. So once we have tested this on our local, right, so we can go ahead and basically uh, deploy this on Streamlit Cloud. So for this, you need to use the command streamlit run. So make sure you have installed all the libraries, and I'll call this main.py, and I'll run this. So this opens my Streamlit app. So you can see the favicon icon here, and the name of the page and so on, and the Gemini Pro chatbot. So here maybe I'll ask like, what is deep learning? You can try different prompts as well. So for now, this is just running only on my local. Let's just test this code. So this would take like few seconds. So it won't take that much. It's just like 10-20 seconds of time. So then you will kind of get this. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning and all those things. And again, you can ask like some other prompt, like again, the same thing that we did, which is write a Python code to build a CNN. Okay, so I'll run this. So this should give the Python code that we have seen. So this is how you can kind of build your code and run this. Again, as I said, you can go ahead with some other open source LLMs and host it in a cloud platform and use this similar Streamlit structure to build this chatbot. And maybe the other option is you can have like different LLMs. So one can be Gemini Pro, other can be like the Llama 2, which is Facebook Meta's open source LLM. So you can have that on the other tab and you can like get the results from there. So these are like different ways of, I mean, you can try this out. So it would be like a good exercise. So that's how we can do this. We can see that this is working well. And now let's see how we can deploy this on Streamlit Cloud as a public web app. Okay. So for that, what you need to do is your code has to be hosted on GitHub in a public repository. So that's like a very important thing in order to connect our Streamlit Cloud to this. So hopefully you have a GitHub account and you have this code files. So I'll give this particular repository link. As I said, create your repository with all these files in same folder structures. Only thing is here the .env file would be empty. Just replace it with your corresponding API key that you get for your particular account. So that's important. And once that's done, go to share.streamlit.io. So this is the link from which we are going to deploy our Streamlit app. And here, if you haven't created an account already, so it will prompt you to create an account. You can actually create an account with your GitHub account or your Gmail account, but I would suggest you to create a GitHub account. So that will like basically link your GitHub repositories to the Streamlit account. So what you can do is create a Streamlit account with the same ID as your GitHub account, so that these will be like linked without any issues. So once you have signed up, once you do all those basic things, right, so this is the page that it will take you to. And these are the, I mean, earlier deployments that I done, and now we can just go to this new app. And in this new app, I'm going to just click this one, click this new app, and this is kind of calling my repository, right? So I can just click this and this will give me a drop down of the public repositories present in my GitHub repository. So the one that I'm going to use this uses this Gemini Pro Chatbot Streamlit, and mention the brand. So here I only have this main brand, so I can just put it here. And this is the name of the Streamlit app. So the name of my Streamlit app code, which this is it's main.py, right? So mention whatever name that you have for your file. So I mean, you can just go with main.py, which is like the more standard name, and then you need to give an URL for your app. So maybe I'll call this as Gemini Pro Chatbot. Let's see if this is available. It seems domain is available, so it will be Gemini Pro Chatbot.streamlit.app. So now let's kind of click this deploy. So this actually wouldn't take much time. It's like just like a couple minutes. So maybe we can wait for that. you can see. So this is how your deployment will happen, and you can click this manage app in order to see like what's the process that's happening. So this is like completely free, so you don't incur any cost. So you just put this code in a public repository, link it to Streamlit Cloud, so it's just like free of cost, and it's really helpful when you're like building some POCs out of this. So not only for, I mean, this, you can use this to deploy any Streamlit app that you are building. So you just need these things, the proper requirements.txt file, the Streamlit code, and you know, if you have some other machine learning model files and so on, you can just have all those files here. And the other important thing is have a folder called this Streamlit and have this credentials.2ml. Oh, actually it should be config.2ml, but yeah, I think it should be working fine even without that, but that's okay. So I'll replace this. So have that config.2ml in this folder and make sure that this is running. So you can see the process is happening. See, this config is the file that we need to have, but it should work anyway, but it's a good to have thing. So this is my local app, so I'll close this, and here we can see the deployment is almost done. So I'll close this and I'll just zoom it a bit. Okay, so here I can just say again, maybe the same question, what is deep learning? So this is, again, we know that this is our user's prompt, the user's prompt, and here we should get the response of the assistant. It says that it's a subfield of ML and all those things. And again, I'll ask the same question of write a Python code to build a CNN. So this is, I mean, it's that simple. So you just build your Streamlit app, make sure everything is working, and just with few clicks with proper account merging, you can just deploy this easily on Streamlit Cloud without any cost. And if you want to kind of host it in you know, some other cloud platforms, you can maybe Dockerize this, upload this in maybe Azure or AWS, and basically run this. So that's how we can like deploy this on cloud platforms as well. Right, so now if you want to share this up, just share this URL, or you can go to this share, and you can kind of put this on socials, or yeah, embed it in some sites or something, right? So you can type in some emails and send this link to people. Like, you can just check it from your mobile device to check if this particular link is working. So this is how you can deploy your app as well. So I hope everyone is clear until this point. I'll just give you a quick recap of what we have done. So the first thing that we need is we need to go to Google AI Studio and get the API key for this. Just search Google AI Studio and go to this Google AI Studio Quick Start. And once you have the key, put that in a .env file with appropriate variable name, the key name, which is Google API key, and install the required libraries present in the requirements.txt file. Load this key in the environment variable, set the page configuration, and load the API key value, and then load your model after passing the key. And then we have this user translation role that happens, right? And then we have this model.start chat. So this is what this is basically where your model is called and your, I mean, response or like kind of taken. So we have this start chat thing. So this is to just save your history in a session state. So all those history and this prompt will be passed to the model and you get a response. So we have this page title, and then this follow-up is to display the history of the prompt and the, you know, message and so on. And then we have this users chat input text, where we can basically they can type in and hit the send button. And then we have this, if user prompt has been given, so we display that prompt, and then we get the response from Gemini Pro with this chat session which we have created earlier in this case. And then we kind of send this message. When we send a message, we are passing this to the Gemini Pro API with the user prompt and getting the response in this Gemini response. And then with st.chat message in this assistant logo, right? So we are calling this markdown. Wait, this is just like st.write, right? So st.markdown is displaying text in a markdown format. So we are calling this st.markdown and passing this Gemini response.text. So that's how this would work. So once you have tested your app on the local, put that code in a in a GitHub repository, and create you know, Streamlit account with the same Gmail or other IDs that you have, and connect your repository to this. So I mean, those steps are pretty simple. You can also sign up to Streamlit with your GitHub repository. So once that is done, you can create a new app and again give those repository details as you have seen, the branch and the name of the file and all those things. So once that's done, your deployment should happen, and you can see the output in this case. So here we are seeing that the cloning of repository and all those things happen, and we are installing the libraries here, and the code is working. Okay, so that's how you can do this. So I hope everyone is clear with this, and I'll see you in the next upload. Thanks for watching.